Kolgrim, a witcher from the School of the Viper who was tasked with recovering the lost weapon diagrams that once belonged to his school. Though successful in finding the diagrams, they were never returned to the School of the Viper. In this Witcher lore video, we will be taking a look at the grim legend of the Witcher Kolgrim. After successfully finding the lost weapon diagrams, Kolgrim began his journey back to the Empire of Nilfgaard. As the sun began to set, Kolgrim made his way into a small village in White Orchard to get some rest. As he entered the local tavern, he received many glares of disgust from the villagers. This didn't faze Kolgrim though, as it was nothing new for a witcher. He approached the innkeep and paid for a place to rest and some provisions for the ride the next day. Kolgrim never started on his ride back to the School of the Viper. Instead, during his short stay in the village, he was accused of kidnapping a child that was missing. Kolgrim was then hauled off to the local lord to face judgment for what he was accused of. Once at the lord's castle, Amavet Fortress, he was detained pending trial and was interrogated by Sir Ignatius Vieras. During the interrogation, Kolgrim was searched, and in his possession the interrogators found the weapon diagrams Kolgrim was meant to return to the School of the Viper. During the interrogation, they concluded that this was the diagram used by Kolgrim to forge the sword he used to intimidate or possibly kill the kidnapped child, Viti. They also suspected that Kolgrim possessed or had hidden more diagrams, but they couldn't find them. After a few hours of interrogation, they received no more information about the missing boy, so Sir Ignatius decided to resume the interrogation at a later date with the application of torture. This torture would not be able to take place until a torturer with the proper qualifications had been found. This gave Kolgrim some more time to try and think of a way to get out of this predicament so he can return to the School of the Viper. After a couple of hours of being held in the interrogation chamber, Kolgrim remembered a story once told to him by a bard of a lost knight that was awaiting trial but managed to escape punishment by invoking the Temerian common law and demanding trial by ordeal. Kolgrim knew this was his only chance of getting out of this place in one piece, as the villagers had already made him their scapegoat. It was his word, the word of a witch's, versus the word of nearly the whole village. He had no chance. A couple of days had passed, but still no torturer was able to be sourced. The lord and villagers grew tired of waiting for someone qualified enough, so instead of proceeding with the interrogation, they went straight to trial. Kolgrim entered the main chamber, relieved he wasn't subjected to any torture. As everyone arrived to witness the trial, Kolgrim demanded to the lord that he be allowed a trial by ordeal. The whole chamber grew silent, and the lord stared at Kolgrim with narrowed eyes, thinking. To Kolgrim's surprise, the lord granted this request, to which the crowd of villagers booed in disgust and anger. The lord stated the terms of Kolgrim's trial by ordeal, which was to go to a local crypt and cleanse it of the wraiths lurking there. Kolgrim was returned to his cell, where he would wait until the next day where he would undertake this task. In his cell, Kolgrim wrote a letter to Ivar Evil Eye, a master witcher of the School of the Viper. The letter read, "I have now found all the legendary diagrams once belonging to our order. Certain complications have arisen, however. On the way back to our keep, I stopped to rest a night in a village in the Temerian borderlands. The blasted peasants decided to make me into their scapegoat and accused me of kidnapping some beekeeper's brat. They took me into the local lordling's castle for an interrogation, during which they found and confiscated one of the diagrams. But do not fear, I will get it back. They did not find the others. I have invoked Temerian common law and demanded a trial by ordeal instead of submitting to the whims of the baronet. My request was granted, and tomorrow I am to cleanse the baronet's family crypt of wraiths. I expect this will prove little trouble. Perhaps I will already have returned to our keep by the time you receive this letter. Light the furnaces. We'll have some forging to do." From this letter, Kolgrim seemed rather certain he would be returning to the School of the Viper, but he was so dearly wrong. As the sun rose, Kolgrim was shown the location of the crypt on his map, and was told to cleanse the crypt and return to the castle by dusk, to which he will receive all his confiscated belongings and be freed. Kolgrim made his way to the crypt and fully intended to keep to his word in order to get back the diagram and other confiscated items. But Kolgrim never made it to the crypt. Instead, somewhere along the way there, he was ambushed by nearly the whole village. Clearly the villagers thought Kolgrim was getting off far too lightly and instead took the matter of serving punishment into their own hands. Kolgrim, though outnumbered greatly, cut down 3 men before eventually being overwhelmed by the sheer number of villagers. Kolgrim was forced onto his knees, where the father of the boy Viti beheaded the Witcher as revenge for what he had supposedly done to his son. After killing Kolgrim, the villagers gave him no proper burial. They just dumped his headless body in a shallow unmarked grave on the roadside. As the sun began setting, there was no sign of Kolgrim at the Lord's castle, to which they assumed the wraiths were too much for the Witcher to deal with. Nobody cared. Nobody went looking for him. They just all went back to their normal lives. A few days later, the body of the boy Viti was found on the riverbank close to the village. Upon a further inspection of the boy's wounds, it was revealed that the Witcher Kolgrim had nothing to do with the death of this boy, but that he was attacked and killed by drowners. Unfortunately, this was discovered too late for Kolgrim, as the villagers had already dealt with him. As the word of the boy's cause of death spread throughout the village, many of the villagers that were involved in the murder of the innocent Witcher surprisingly started to feel some sort of guilt for what they had done. Late one night, under the cover of darkness, some of the men from the village, including Viti's father, went back to where they beheaded the Witcher and buried him. They dug up his body and took the remains to the crypt he was meant to cleanse and laid him to rest there. Though they felt some sort of remorse for what they had done, this course of action was hardly out of the good of their hearts, and was done more as some sort of cover-up. They thought it'd make more sense if the body was found in the crypt, opposed to someone finding it beheaded on the side of the road. Geralt finds the remains of Kolgrim down in this crypt with his skull next to him, proving this wasn't just some rumour or tale spread around the village.
Went missing one day, so folk had a witchman that was hunting nearby. Started poking him, asking. When he started twisting and squirming, so wham bam, they knocked his head off.
Oh, so it were. Except it was some drowner that had supped on him. Witcher had naught to do with it. What did the folk do? Seemed like they could have sewed his head back on. Word is, they laid his corpse to rest.
And that is the grim legend of the Witcher Kolgrim from the School of the Viper. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more lore videos from the Witcher universe. Thanks.